Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most common, most frustrating, and honestly, one of the most fascinating pests you'll ever find in your garden, the aphid. If you've ever walked outside to find a bunch of tiny bugs just sucking the life out of your favorite plants, then you've come to the right place. We're going to break down their strategy so you can build yours. All right, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's just start with the single most mind-blowing fact about aphids. The one thing you absolutely need to know. Most of them are born pregnant. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. This isn't just some weird trivia fact, this is their superpower. It's the secret weapon that lets them completely overwhelm a plant before you've even had your morning coffee.
So, what exactly are we dealing with here? Well, aphids are tiny, really tiny, usually less than 1/4 of an inch long. They've got these soft, kind of pear-shaped bodies, and they can be green, black, yellow, pink, you name it. And their whole deal, their entire mission in life, is to use these little needle-like mouths to pierce into a plant and suck out the sap. You know, literally the lifeblood of the plant.
You know what they say? To defeat an enemy, you have to understand them. So in this first part, we're going to really break down the aphid's playbook. We're going to look at the biological superpowers that make them such a huge challenge for every gardener out there.
And that whole born pregnant thing? This is where it gets absolutely nuts. A single female aphid doesn't even need a mate. She just pumps out genetically identical clones of herself, and she can have up to 100 live babies a day. This is exactly how 1 or 2 aphids turn into a full-blown infestation, seemingly overnight. It's just exponential growth.
Their strategy is, in a destructive way, kind of brilliant. It's really a 2-phase attack. So phase 1, a wingless female lands on a nice, juicy plant and just starts cloning herself, right? She creates this huge stationary army to overwhelm that one spot. But once things get too crowded or the plant starts to get weak, they flip a switch. They move to phase 2 and start producing babies with wings. These are the migrants, and their job is to fly off and start this whole crazy cycle all over again on your other plants.
And we're not just talking about flying to the next rose bush over. This quote really paints the picture perfectly. Aphids will actually fly up, catch the wind currents, and just drift for miles and miles. So here's the kicker, the thing you've got to understand. If you have an outdoor garden, you can't completely get rid of them. It's impossible. They are always arriving from somewhere else.
Okay, so since we can't build some kind of anti-aphid fortress around our gardens, the name of the game becomes early detection. In this section, we're going to cover all the telltale signs, because a lot of the time you'll see the evidence of an aphid attack long before you ever spot the tiny culprits themselves.
All right, so here's what you need to keep an eye out for. First, look at the leaves. Are they misshapen, curling up, or turning yellow? That's a classic sign of stress. You might also notice a clear, sticky goo on the leaves. That stuff's called honeydew, and it's basically aphid waste. If you see that, you might also see a black, sooty-looking mold growing on it. And, of course, a huge giveaway is a line of ants marching up the plant stem. Pro tip, always flip the leaves over and check the undersides. That is their favorite hiding spot.
This is such a critical observation for any gardener. Seriously, ants and aphids have this bizarre little partnership. The aphids produce that sugary honeydew, and the ants essentially farm them for it. They drink it as a food source. And in return, the ants act like tiny bodyguards, protecting the aphids from predators like ladybugs. So yeah, if you see an ant highway going up your plants, follow the trail. You can bet there's an aphid colony at the end of it. Okay, so you followed the signs and you found them. Now what? Well, the best way to think about this is with a multi-level defense plan, and you always want to start with the simplest, most direct, and least disruptive methods first. This is your rapid response team.
You know, because aphids are so soft and slow, physical controls are actually shockingly effective. If you see a leaf that's just completely covered, don't even bother with it. Just snip it off and get rid of it. For smaller colonies, a good, strong blast of water from your hose can literally just knock them right off. They're so weak that most of them can't even climb back up. And for the few that are left, seriously, just wipe them off with your fingers. Simple, but it really works.
Now, physical controls are great for fighting the battle that's right in front of you, but for winning the war, you need a long-term strategy. And that means you've got to shift your whole mindset from how do I kill pests to how do I build a balanced ecosystem where nature's own predators do the heavy lifting for you.
So let's start by busting a huge common myth. We've all seen them, right? Those little tubs of ladybugs for sale at the garden center. I mean, it sounds perfect. A box of good guys to solve your bad guy problem. But here's the deal. A lot of those ladybugs aren't sourced in a sustainable way. And more importantly, when you open that container, they just fly away.
They have no reason to stick around your garden.
So what's the real solution? The better way? Instead of importing these temporary mercenaries, you need to recruit a local, permanent security force. Your goal should be to create a habitat that's so inviting that the native beneficial insects in your area, the ladybugs, the lacewings, all of them, actually choose to live there, hunt there, and raise their families right in your garden.
So how do you roll out the welcome mat for these garden heroes? Well, for one, plant lots of different things, especially plants with small flowers like yarrow or cosmos. These provide food for the adult predators. And obviously, stop using those harsh, broad-spectrum pesticides that kill everybody, the good guys and the bad. Now, this next one might sound a little crazy. You actually have to tolerate a small number of aphids. I mean, if there's no food around, your predators have no reason to stay. Think of it as keeping the pantry stocked for your allies.
Look, sometimes, even with your best efforts, a population just gets out of hand, and you need to step in more directly. But it's so important to think of sprays not as your first resort, but as a kind of surgical tool, something you use carefully and only when and where it's absolutely needed.
So, let's break down the most common low-impact sprays you'll find. You've got insecticidal soap and horticultural oil. These are what we call contact killers. They work right away by basically drying out or suffocating the aphids. But the catch is, you have to physically spray the bug itself for it to work. Then you have something like neem oil, which is different. It's slower and it works by messing with the aphid's ability to eat and grow. The golden rule for any of these? Get good coverage and never, ever spray them in the hot, direct sun, or you could burn your plant's leaves.
You know, when it comes right down to it, this all points to two totally different philosophies about gardening. On one side, you have pest elimination. That's the mindset that sees any pest as an enemy to be wiped out completely. It usually leads to a cycle of spraying that kills everything, creating this fragile, sterile environment that's just a blank slate for the next invasion. But on the other side, you have pest management. This approach is all about creating a healthy balance, using all the tools we've talked about to keep pests in check naturally. It's about building a garden that's resilient and can take care of itself.
And this quote right here just nails it. This is the whole takeaway. The goal is not a sterile, bug-free garden. Honestly, that's both impossible and unnatural. The real goal is a healthy, thriving ecosystem where you have a small, managed population of aphids that serves as a food source for all the good bugs that you've invited in. A truly healthy garden is buzzing with life, and yeah, that includes a few aphids.
So I'll just leave you with that to think about next time you're out in your garden. Are you fighting a war for a perfectly clean, pest-free space? Or are you trying to cultivate a complex, balanced, and resilient little ecosystem? The answer to that question is going to define your entire strategy, and ultimately your success as a gardener.